Massage therapists know better than anyone the healing benefits of bodywork are not just for a lucky few. Rather, massage is for every body. ABMP's Massage is for Everybody Week, celebrated July 19th through 25th, is part of a bigger year-long movement grounded in advocacy, awareness, and inclusion. Join ABMP in celebrating the powerful benefits of massage and the meaningful role you play in your community. Together, we're helping to expand access, support underserved populations, and elevate the profession with compassion and professionalism. Learn more at abmp.com/massage-week. At Heights Retreats, massage therapists build stable and meaningful careers rooted in wellness and care. A place where therapists are dedicated to delivering exceptional care to the guests, not to filling their schedule. Heights Retreats care deeply about their therapists, our profession, and wellness itself. Grow with Heights as they evolve into a wellness-driven future. Visit heightswellnessretreat.com for more information. Hello and welcome to the ABMP podcast. I'm Kristin Coverly, massage therapist, educator, and as Director of Professional Education for ABMP, I create CE courses and events for massage and bodywork practitioners. And I have the opportunity to host this podcast and create what I call Combo Pods. I pick a theme and ask several guests to share their thoughts. Same questions, different answers, which gives us a compilation of thoughts, ideas, and inspiration. I spoke with Cal Cates, Dr. Joi Edwards, and Doug Nelson for this episode, all amazing people I collaborate with on ABMP CE courses and events. Today's topic is about advice that has impacted the way my guests navigate the world. That's big stuff, that's heavy. And why this topic and why now? In so many of my conversations with friends and colleagues lately, we share that life feels like it's swirling and overpacked and a little bit overwhelming, if we're being honest. So I thought it was just the right time for a little inspiration for all of us. I asked my guests, what's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten, and how did it impact your life, who you are, or how you navigate the world? And let me tell you, I am so excited to share their wisdom with you. Let's get started with my first guest, Doug Nelson. He's an educator, practitioner, founder of the 22 Therapist Clinic Bodywork Associates, and the CE provider, Precision Neuromuscular Therapy. Hello, Doug. What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten, and how did it impact your life, who you are, or how you navigate the world?
Whoa, oh boy, what a question, right? So I'm going to pick one. And that is, I was struggling actually creating a piece, writing something. And a person who has written many books, but when I was sharing that, looked at me and said, inspiration is really overrated. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? What does that mean? And they didn't elaborate. And it took me a while to figure it out. If you rely on inspiration, very few people who are elite athletes or elite artists say, boy, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning at 4:00 and, work, like nobody does that, right? It's just putting in the work. And the wild thing about that is so much of that is all the work is front loaded. All the enjoyment is on the back end, right? And actually just a couple of days ago, my daughter's partner, Chris, he also plays guitar and is kind of a new student. And so we were playing together and he was playing some really difficult things. And a little part of me was like, wait a minute, I thought you were like a beginner here. And it turns out that he actually would pick a song that he loved, something that's like not easy to do, and just spend hours measure by measure trying to replicate that. Doesn't really know in a way what he's doing. I'll figure it out. But hours and hours struggling through something. I, on the other hand, took an opposite path where I am learning scales and doing all the fundamentals. And it kind of hit me. We're going to both get to the same place. We just start at different ends of the spectrum in a way. But in both cases, you sound terrible for a long time. So how is it that you work through that? Just by putting in the work every day. And, it was a really great piece of advice for me, just to put in the work and focus on the process, not the product. And that has really changed a lot for me.
I love that. And it is so applicable for all of us and for every aspect of our life, personal and business.
Absolutely. It is not, it's in our professional lives and building our skills as therapists. It's in our personal life in every dimension you can think of. It's, if you're saving money for retirement and you look at the account every day, you'll drive yourself nuts, right? But if you just say, I'm just going to put in this much and then totally forget about it, just keep doing it, someday you'll be pleasantly surprised, hopefully. And everything is like that in so many ways. Just put in the work, just focus on the process.
I find what Doug shared to be so spot on. So much of the change and progress we create in our lives and businesses happens because we put the work in every day. It does not always feel magical and inspiring, often not, but maintaining the day-to-day effort is what leads us to accomplishing our goals. And you know what? Doug shared his number 2 piece of advice with me as well, which I'm going to let you in on because I like it just as much. And it is design or default. Are the things you're doing something you designed and planned, or are they happening by default? I used to teach this in my business and marketing workshops too. Asking my participants, are you an active business owner or a passive business owner? Are you intentionally charting your path, or is momentum carrying you along by default? Something to think about, and again, applicable in both personal and business. My next guest is Dr. Joi Edwards, a massage therapist, physical therapist, silicone cupping expert, and owner of the CE provider Alchemy Education. Hi, Dr. Joi. What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten? How did it impact your life, who you are, or how you navigate the world?
That is a wonderful question. So the best piece of advice that I have ever really received is it's just a simple quote. It says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And once I heard it and really listened to it, it changed almost the way I do everything. It just really means like you can't, sometimes you don't have control over the things that happen to you, but what you do have control over is your response. And so depending on which way your response leans, that can create more suffering or we can reduce the suffering. I'll give you an example. My mother had a little procedure yesterday, and so I went to the hospital, and I was there later than my bedtime is about 10:01, and I'm counting sheep. So I was there a lot later than I had planned on being. I was hungry. It was pouring down raining when we went. And so when I left, it was about 11 p.m. I had waited for the doc. I didn't see the doctor. So I could have leaned into the suffering, right? So it was painful that I was there and I was hungry. And I could have leaned into the suffering and complained about, the doctor this or the semi that cut me off on my way home. But instead, I chose to say, well, wow, what a blessing that she was able to have a procedure. Wow, it was so awesome that the staff was so nice. Wow, I made it home safely and I didn't have an accident. So just choosing to kind of water the seeds of joy and happy and gratefulness as opposed to going the opposite way.
Oh, that's such a powerful reminder. And our human nature is almost always to have the initial response be negative. So this really helps us pause, examine, reflect, and shift, doesn't it?
For sure, for sure. There's another little caveat, and it said the mind absorbs patterns. So it moves toward what it's practiced. So if we always kind of practice the complaining or the frustration, our habit pattern is as soon as something happens, we lean on that. We go in that direction because that's the pathway that's strengthened. So then the opposite is true too. If we always lean or try to often lean in happy and in joy, it's easier for the mind to say, oh yeah, that's the path we took last time. Let's take that path again.
And that's the ultimate goal. That's where we want to get. And Dr. Joi, listeners can apply this to their personal lives and their practices, right?
Yes, for sure. I feel like it's applied for me in daily life. What did I do? I stubbed my toe, something the other day. Pain immediately. But and I think it was something that someone left out. So it was painful, but then I could have created more suffering. And oh my gosh, who left this out? What is it? And complained and yelled and had this whole kind of fit party. But instead it was like, okay, the pain was like 5 seconds, maybe, but if I relive that, I mean, that could go on. There's things I think about, like in the past, maybe something negative someone has said to me, and I've maybe held on to that throughout high school, throughout my younger years, and it's created a suffering cloud around me and maybe governed how I see myself or how I see certain situations. But the insult or whatever happened literally was probably 10 seconds long 20 years ago. But I've held on to it and I've given it life and I've created this suffering around it. So yeah, I feel like you can apply it to massage, to daily life, to a patient comes in late and maybe now you have to rush, or you can water that seed of frustration and anger, or you can say, well, they came in, they chose me. It's wonderful. I have a client to see. I'm going to put my best effort forward, instead of, again, choosing that opposite pathway.
What a powerful piece of advice. I hope everyone lets that really sink in, because it's also an important reminder that the way we respond to situations is a choice. I'm curious, can you think of some situations in your life that you might want to shift how you're responding, or are you choosing to suffer more than you need to? I'm guessing the answer is yes. So inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Joi. Let's take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors. Elevate your bodywork career with Anatomy Train's Structural Integration Certification, ATSI. Discover how to map the pattern and shape the change through inspiring lectures, hands-on body reading, and practical techniques you can use in your practice right away. Join us for ATSI Maine 2026 to 2027, where Tom Myers will personally kick off this transformative professional training. Learn more at anatomytrains.com/ATSI. Let's get back to our conversation. My next guest is Cal Cates, educator, author, and executive director of HealWell. Hello, Cal. What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten? How did it impact your life, who you are, or how you navigate the world?
Oh man, I've been thinking about this, and I think we all could say that we've gotten lots of advice, right? And this, I don't even know that I would say that this was even offered as advice, but I took it as advice. The therapist that I worked with in the process that ultimately became my divorce, she said that one of her teachers told her along her journey that you can have anything you want as long as you're willing for it to look different than you thought it was going to look. And I remember feeling so sort of liberated in this moment where really I was just paying her to watch me cry for an hour, and I was like, I wonder if she'll just be like, okay, so this isn't helping. You just come here and cry all the time. But I've really taken that as kind of my credo, that I know that I have missed so many opportunities in my life because they didn't look like I thought they were going to look, and that I'm like, oh, this isn't exactly right. Like we're so good at seeing how things aren't good, right? And that I think that as I look back, particularly at maybe like the last 15 years of my life, I have gotten so much closer to what I guess I would have imagined I want my life to be. And I can't say, oh, it's because I did this or because I did that. I think it's really about being willing to be like, okay, so that's not like I wanted 2 bedrooms and this one's 3, or, this has, 3 sprockets and I wanted 4, or whatever. That there's always, and it's not about settling. I think this is the thing, but there's always something in what's in front of you that you can easily miss because it's not what you might have envisioned.
Oh, I really love the distinction you're making between choosing something different, not meaning that you're settling, and being able to see the positives and the possibilities about what's actually in front of you. That's big, isn't it?
It's huge. Yeah. And I think as I even struggle to say the word leader, but as the executive director of Heal Well, I am constantly looking at like, where are we headed and what does the future look like? And as a team, we're always talking about like, this is what success would look like, for instance, and how to even approach those sorts of exercises with a gentleness that's like, so it sort of looks like this, but let's like dull our focus, right? Because it might not look exactly like that. How might it feel? And I feel like that was really the underlying question that this therapist was offering me, was sort of notice how things feel, because we can really concretize around what it might look like. And what aliveness feels like, what connection feels like. And those are the things that will lead you ultimately toward whatever it is that you want, big air bunnies. So
it's really focusing on what you want to attain at the end of the journey versus exactly what every step of the journey needs to look like. And so often it's better than we could have even imagined or originally wanted, right?
If we'll let it be, definitely. Yes.
And another reason I really like that too is, as humans, we are so good at getting in our own way and throwing up a barrier. Oh, that's not exactly what I envisioned. So I'm going to let that be the reason I'm going to say no to that opportunity, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And starting to, I feel like, so this person shared this wisdom with me so many years ago. And it's not like I just was like, oh, I'm just going to do that, right? Like along the way, I've developed a somatic practice and some mindfulness and sort of like engaging with what does it mean to surrender? Like there is a lot of it invited me to consider, what would it take to live as though this is the thing that guides me, right? Because clearly I wasn't in that place at that time, right? And when something disastrous like a divorce happens, you sort of go like, I have nothing to stand on. And what do I do now? I really liked standing on even this thing that I've decided I don't want, or that somehow is falling apart. Having something to stand on was great. And so I think I heard the questions under that wisdom of like, why don't we live that way? And what are, like you said, because we're so good at being in our own way. And really just grasping after comfort, even if it's a small C comfort, like just predictability, believing that if I, then this, is how we get into those traps, I think.
Not only is the advice Cal shared so spot on and helpful for all of us, we've all missed opportunities in life because they didn't look how we thought they should look. But I think the way they approached incorporating the advice into their life is also really powerful, asking themselves, what would it take to live as though this is the thing that guides me? And then developing the practices to support that shift. That is incredible to me. I hope you're just as inspired. It's interesting to me that 2 of the 3 pieces of advice are about shifting our perspective, the way we react to things and the way we see things. My own best piece of advice I've ever received is in a similar category. I call it see the story, fill in the gaps. This advice comes from an incredible Brené Brown workshop I attended years ago. She taught us that in the absence of data, humans will make up stories. Our brains are biologically wired to fill in the gaps of ambiguity with narratives that protect us, often defaulting to worst-case assumptions when we are hurt or uncertain. So when something happens and we don't have all the data to tell us why it happened or why that person said that or did this, we create our own version of the why to fill in the gaps. Our smart little brains do that, and not always for the best, because the stories we create can be really damaging to ourselves and others. This see the story advice has really helped me recognize when I'm doing this, when I'm writing stories. That in itself is huge, just to understand if what I'm reacting to is fact or fiction. From there, I've worked to develop tools to analyze the situation to discover what information is missing, and then to develop the courage to have an honest conversation and ask the person for that missing information so I can respond to the situation appropriately based on the facts. And let me tell you, it is not easy, but I can tell you it's been incredibly helpful in all aspects of my life. And sometimes you won't be able to get the information you need to fill in the gaps. When that happens, I'm telling you, just the awareness that you're making decisions and having emotional responses to a story you created that's not necessarily accurate, usually not, is incredibly helpful in reframing your response to the situation. If that sounds at all intriguing, and I hope it does, I encourage you to explore Brené's book, Rising Strong. Okay, that was a lot of life-changing advice. Let's recap the advice from our wonderful guests. From Doug Nelson, inspiration is really overrated. Put in the work, focus on the process, not the product. Work is front-loaded, enjoyment is on the back end. From Dr. Joi, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. A quote from Haruki Murakami, you can't control the things that happen to you, but you do have control over your response. From Cal, you can have anything you want as long as you're willing for it to look different than you thought it was going to look. Don't miss opportunities because they don't look how you thought they, quote unquote, should look. And finally, my piece of advice, see the story, fill in the gaps. Recognize when you're writing a story, fill in the gaps in information if you can. I hope you're feeling inspired and you're thinking of your own best piece of advice you've ever received. And don't be stingy with it. Share that advice with the people around you so everyone can benefit and have it impact their lives, who they are, and how they navigate the world. Thank you for listening and have a beautiful day. Precision Neuromuscular Therapy has been teaching high-quality seminars for over 20 years across the country. Founded by Doug Nelson, PNMT uses problem-solving skills and precise treatment options to get powerful results for your clients. PNMT seminars focus on honing your assessment and palpation skills to precisely target the source of your client's pain while understanding the why behind the what. Meet us in a hands-on seminar or online in the PNMT portal and let us join you on your learning journey. Learn more at pnmt.org.